Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are joining me from in this big, beautiful, and messy world. I hope you're coming into this from a space of peace and happiness for today and days moving forward. I'm Carol C.C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger, coming to you with another episode of Embrace Your Life Chat, where the intention is to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. As you can tell, I have my monthly guest and friend Shawna with me, and we'll be talking about animal communication. And really, I don't need to go over this today, but I still like to, especially if you're new to my work and positive focus. And also let us know where you're joining us from in comments. I'm in Chicago. Shawna is in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. And the two things I like to go over is the first is I'm not an absolutist. I'm not a big fan of the words always, never, right, wrong, good, or bad. There's 7 billion people on this planet. I can't begin to say what is always or never right for 7 billion people. So I work on the majority of the time. 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. The majority is just 51%. However, if you're at 30, 40, 60, whatever, you're not right, you're not wrong, you're not good or bad. It's just where you are right now and where you want to move forward to. My personal work is to stay in the 80 to 100% of the time. What does that mean? Frustration, anger, disappointment, unworthiness, sadness, all the feels visit me, but because of my daily practices, they visit and don't move in. Secondly, I'm a coach, love supporting people in living their best life, whatever that looks like as a coach. I am not a counselor nor am I a therapist. And sometimes in order to live your best life, getting that type of support is beneficial and helpful. I just know you're worth living your best life. So whatever type of support, whether it's hiring me as a coach, getting a session with Shawna to learn more about what's going on with your pet, or seeking out therapy, I encourage you to do what's going to work best for you in your life. So welcome Sandra from Toronto and Pranitha. Those are the names that I'm seeing showing right now. And sometimes the system I use doesn't show me the comments until after. So if you have a question about animals, that's what we're working on today. And I do want to say, I believe it was Pierre. I don't remember. Somebody asked me to talk about grief on Tuesday. And I planned to do it today. And I think I even said I would do it today. I forgot today is the second Thursday of the month. I was thinking it was the first Thursday of the month. Shawna joins me the second Thursday of every month. So I will cover the grief conversation next week, probably on Thursday, because Tuesday I have my second Tuesday of the month normal guest. But we will definitely cover moving through grief on another topic. But today, Shawna, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm happy to have you here as always. And I wanted to bring up because we'll get into if people have specific questions about their pets. So Shawna can feel and read into the energy, whether your pet is living or whether it's passed, and you can ask questions. I encourage you, it's helpful for her. It's not necessarily necessary, but it helps her to know pet's name and if it's living or dead. And I guess it would help you if you're saying cat, dog, squirrel, whatever, but pet name, what your question is, and if it's living or has crossed the rainbow bridge. But as we get some questions in, I just wanted to ask you a question on Denise Lynn. I don't know if any of you follow her, but she wrote a really interesting post today that I wanted to read to everybody. So, Denise, I'm pretty sure that Kai, which is her German Shepherd, I believe Kai is a rescue German Shepherd, I'm pretty sure that Kai is psychic, said my husband, David. Whoa, my husband is the salt of the earth and not very inclined to make comments that verge on spirituality. Denise, by the way, is very spiritual. She's been a spiritual teacher for 50 years, a friend of mine, an amazing human being. And so she says, what do you mean? He replied, well, do you remember that I had been complaining about the birds eating all the seeds in the raised gardens? Well, right after I said that, I saw Kai racing around the beds, chasing off the birds. He wasn't hurting them. He was just scaring them. Oh my gosh, David, you are right. I think that he is psychic. Remember the high winds a couple of days ago? Right before that, I was telling you about how much I like birds' nests. And this morning, Kai brought 2 birds' nests that must have blown out of the trees and laid them right in front. Hello, Carol. Laid them right by the front door. So I think I need to be careful what I say around Kai. So I wanted to ask you, I'm going to actually put this in the link so people can see the picture of beautiful Kai. And
Kai is so beautiful. Oh.
He is. He's a gorgeous. And I think they have another German Shepherd, and Kai came to them as a rescue. I don't remember their other German Shepherd, but I believe Kai is a recent, within the last year, member of their household. But I wanted to ask you, I have heard people say that, like, they can't understand our words and things like that. Are animals psychic?
Yes, and I'm so glad to be here today. And yes, 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 they are. And I love Denise Lynn too. She is just like so magnificent, right?
Yeah.
Just her grace and the way she speaks. So if you guys haven't checked out Denise Lynn, she's amazing. So if you like following Carol, you'll like Denise Lynn too. So just as a side note. But no, I actually saw that this morning, and it actually got me thinking, because I followed Denise too, and I was like, wow, I was like, that's really cool, and she said, oh, we better, especially the part of, we better watch what we say around Kai, right? Like, that was really, really interesting to me. And it goes to the point, what I love to inspire in people is, yes, 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 our animals are psychic, like whether we say something out loud. So if we like verbalize it, or if we think it inside of our heads and we don't say it, all the animals in our lives like pick up on like our conscious and our unconscious thoughts. So of course their Kai is like, hey, you like bird nests, I'm gonna, like, I found these, I'm gonna bring them to you. And then with helping to go around the garden to kind of like, scurry the birds away, Kai was like, hey, I want to help, right? Because the animals in our life are, that's like the prime example of what I get from that. I want to help, right? They love to help, right? And those things that we say we want help with, they love to help with that. And sometimes, look back, it might be sometimes a thing where maybe you might be like, oh my gosh, why is my pet doing this? They're driving me crazy. And maybe take a minute to think like, hey, what have I said or not said that they're picking up on that's making them do this? Like, right? So look at the deeper meaning, because animals are so like tuned in.
Well, and it just makes me think of my dog who's been gone a couple of years ago now. She was 5 pounds at her highest, so she's a tiny little thing. And she used to get really anxious. There would be, when it was really windy, there was something that would hit the balcony and just send a reverberation. Like, it was not like, she didn't mind fire trucks, fireworks, any other loud thing, but this thing would send her through the roof. And when she got anxious, then I would get anxious, like trying to calm her, which would just heighten her anxiety. So remembering to stay calm to help her calm down, it took work. So it's like she was picking up on my anxiety, which only heightened her own anxiety, kind of thing. So I think it's fascinating. But I know that I've heard people say that dogs, because they don't have the long memory kind of thing for certain things, like if they mess in your house and you catch them later. Well, I mean, I'm not a big believer in punishing anyway, so I would never punish, but you can't punish them after the fact because they don't associate what they did with you yelling at them now, kind of thing. But I do know that, like, when I come home, he could have a look like, oh, Mom, I was bad. Like, I didn't even see anything. I just walk in the door and she's already like hanging her head. So I do think that there is a connection that they know those things too. Animals are just fascinating to me.
They are fascinated, and they do know, and they do remember, right? They remember because you can, like they know because they show you that they know too, right? And you can look at an example of like a rescue pet, right? So say they're like of how they remember things, right? A rescue pet, maybe somebody in hats wasn't nice to them, right? Mm-hmm. So then they associate somebody with wearing a hat as not good, right? So that's just an example to show they do remember, and they have those layers of memories and things. They are so much more smart than people give them credit for, right? They're so much more tuned in than we realize sometimes.
Yeah, I think they're more tuned in than we are a lot of times because they don't have the issues that we do, that we're worried about and fixing and doing, and activities that we're doing all day. So I definitely think that they have a very high connection kind of thing. I just thought it was interesting that Denise had shared that today. I'm like, oh, I need to ask Shawna what she thinks about this. And then I find out you had already read it too.
Yeah,
So
well, it's so cool because I just saw it this morning too. I was like, that would be, and I was actually thinking that would be really cool to talk to Carol about because I was like, that's really cool. And then
talk
here
about
you are,
psychic. We were connected there.
right?
Okay, it looks like we have a couple of questions coming in so far. Mona, my dog's name is Scruffy. Is he ready to go to the Rainbow Bridge? Oh, Mona.
Oh, Mona, I am just surrounding you in so much love because I know that is, that's never an easy thing. And it's interesting because as I tune into Scruffy, so this is just kind of like not a deep dive. These are just kind of like surface level. And I do longer sessions. I feel like I'm moving my two fingers, like I'm slowly like moving in that direction. Like there's been things that have happened with me that you're noticing, like with my fur and my coat and my movement, and then I'm like kind of like lackluster in my presence, right? You can sense that my presence isn't really presence, and it's kind of like I'm stepping in that direction. So it is getting close. It is getting closer to that time, and I am showing you those signs, and that Scruffy is saying it'll be like very, very clear to you when it is that time. Scruffy says it'll be really like even more crystal clear than it is now, those signs that you're starting to see. And it's so hard. Oh,
Let us know, Mona, if that helps. And yeah, sending so much love because to me, that decision is both painful and beautiful that we can do that for them. But it is a hard decision. And Mona, even the day that I made that decision for Mika, like I was like immediately like, am I still making the right? I knew I was making the right decision, but it was still hard. And I wanted evidence that I was making the wrong decision to keep it going. But it was the right decision in the long run.
yeah. So. And it's so hard. And yeah, definitely sending so much love, Mona. And then a little side note, as Carol was talking there, it makes me think too, sometimes what'll happen with an animal is when they show us that it's time to make that decision and we make that decision, we'll see kind of like a burst of energy come from them, right? And a lot of times what that is they're at peace, like, okay, I know that I'm going to have this relief soon from the physical things that are going on with my body. And and that's such a hard thing because then it messes with our emotions. It's like, oh my gosh, am I making the right decision and how do I know? But it's, to me, the message that I get from them is I know that peace is coming. So that's why that happens sometimes.
Yeah, and that's how Miko was because she was 15 and a half and basically slept all the time, ate a little bit and went back to sleep. The morning that I got up to, it was an afternoon appointment. She actually, it was maybe 2 minutes. It wasn't super long, but she actually played for a bit. It was probably a few weeks that she really hadn't even shown me any attention. So I'm like, oh God, am I making the right decision? So I do believe what you had said, that she knew that she was going to be at peace and she was going to my mom. So,
well, yeah. And another thing too, this just made me think of my cat, Leo. So before he transitioned, I could tell things, there was some, medical stuff going on with him, but he was not engaged with me. So what you said with Mika just brought up an important point. Like that you notice their energy kind of start to pull away from you at certain times too. So that can kind of be an indicator as well.
Yeah. Let's see. I know I saw Queens. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I just lost it. Hold on.
And so much love to you, Mona. I'm just like giving you a big, big hug, and let those, I see her comment, the tears are flowing. Yeah. Just let your tears flow because you have to let those emotions go out, and that's what's you gotta work with that. So yeah.
I'm always reminded that big grief also equals big love. So
yes, it does. It equals huge, big love. Yes, exactly. Oh. And Linda, sending you so much love. You said your Papa Papa, hopefully I'm saying that right, transitioned recently. Is he okay? And will he come back? Oh, so what I get from your Papa is like, I send you so much love. And then Papa is like showing me in a circle. Like I was kind of like your lasso dog. Like you lassoed me in with your love. And it's like circled around us, circled around us. And that that it is possible for me to circle back to you and just be open to that. And I'm seeing like a dog that has black with like a little bit of white. So just be open to that and you'll recognize the energy. And Papa says, I'm okay because I'm just running. I stop and I run. I stop and I run. And I'm sending you so much love is what Papa says. Papa says, love, 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 like that. Remember the fun. Remember the fun that I always love to have. Remember the fun.
And I have a question for you, Linda. When you say, will he come back? Do you mean, will he come back as another dog? Or do you mean, will you see signs that he's around you? I would be curious to know that, because I was just thinking, Linda, again, I'm talking about my Mika. She was 5 pounds, and I always told her, I'm like, you need to come back to me. But I'm like, oh, with the way she was, she'd come back as a 100-pound Saint Bernard. I'm like, I don't need 100 pounds. I wanted her to come back, not necessarily her to come back as a 100-pound Saint Bernard. So let us know if you were wanting to know if you would see signs of Papa, or if you were wanting Papa to come back again. Hello, Zelda. Welcome, Rochelle. Let's see. And again, please know if I'm missing a question, I will keep looking through. But if I'm not giving the questions to Shawna, just ask me again, because sometimes they go by quickly. Sometimes we don't even see them at all. So, Shawna, Rochelle, my corgi is a female named Piper. She doesn't seem happy. Any idea why? She's almost 3.
Oh, Piper. She says, she just shows me sometimes, she's like, sometimes I just sit here and I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So she's showing me, show me some more things to do and like get me engaged with playing more. Because she's like, I'm happy, but I want us to be like doing more like play together. She's like, let's engage more. She's like, let's engage more, because she says when you engage with me more, that helps to pull me out of like that funk and that like kind of, she says, get me to engage and play more and get me to kind of like run and play and like, let's go like sit outside. Let's go on some more walks too, and like introduce me to some other dogs that are around as well. She says that will really help. She says that she's happy she's with you. She says when she's in those moments, it's just like, it makes me think of like when somebody's depressed and they're just kind of like, oh, I know I want to do this, but you just get in that like funk, right? So she says, like, bring some fun to help lift me up. She says that'll make me happy, because she says sometimes I can be a little too serious. She says sometimes I'm a little too serious. So
I love that, because it kind of sounds like to me that she's bored too, like to give her some things to think about. And I don't really know the corgi breed, so I don't know. But if you got an intelligent breed, then they need more stimulation. So that might be the case too. But I don't know. Other than the fact I know that they're really cute dogs, I don't know anything about that breed.
They are so cute. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest, I know in July, the Oregon Humane Society does Corgi Day at the beach. So it's all corgis in Cannon Beach. It's like Corgi Day at the beach. So I don't know where you're at, but there might be like a special like corgi event near you that might be fun for Piper.
I was going to say that's a good idea. Just even look in your area to see if there's a corgi club or something like that. And Mona says, arthritis, hard time walking, hips and front legs, shoulders, good days and bad days. So we will keep you both in our thoughts. I know I saw another question. Rochelle's in North Dakota. A little bit of a drive to get to Cannon Beach, Rochelle. I'm not recommending it, but maybe in your area you'll find somebody.
Yes, maybe.
I want to go to Cannon Beach personally. I've never been.
Yes, I will take you there. Come to visit me. It's about an hour and a half from me.
Okay, done. Tiffany, miss my Taffy. She passed last month. Hate how quiet the apartment is without her. Tiffany, do you have obviously sending you a lot of love, but do you have a question specifically about your baby who is now gone? let us know that. I'm guessing, Shawna, just how is she doing? Is she okay
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the other side?
Yeah, sending you so much love, Tiffany, because I know that's so hard. And it's so interesting because she says that listen to the silence that is there because she says how quiet it is. You can hear her still. She says you can still hear me in the silence. And it's making me think of a friend that just passed away in December. He was a sound healer, right? And he at his sound baths, he would always talk about listen for the space in between the notes, right? So it's the space in between the
Mm.
notes. So for you, what I get is it's like that space in the silence. And she's like having me want to like tap my fingers on the floor. And she says, listen for like the taps of my love. She says, listen to the for the taps of my love and that I'm still ever present in your heart. And she's just showing me she's like always your light. She's like showing me there's like light between you and her. There's light, light, light. And I'm always your light. And she says that she wants you to go out and walk more and be out in the neighborhood more. She says, I really want you to go do that. And she just says, I just send you so much love. And she wants you to write for her too. She says, write for me. And that can be a thing that can really help doing some journaling and things like that.
Yeah.
That can really to help to, process those emotions.
I love that. And again, anybody let us know if it resonates with you. And Zelda, I'm going to get to your question next. But I did want to say, as far as missing your kitty, I believe it was Tiffany. I've already lost, yeah, Tiffany on Taffy. I don't, Shawna, you can address this as far as the animal connection, but I do know as far as human connection, when we're grieving, like you're just a month into it, often we are in such a heavy energy. It's hard for us because they are at a high vibration when they've passed and left their physical body. So often when we're in deep grief, they're there around us, they're showing us the signs, but we're unable to see them. So be okay with that and know maybe as time passes, you will be able to hear those in the pauses and think the pause situation. But I do know from a human perspective, any medium that I've ever worked with says that it's your grief that is keeping you from that connection. It's
Yeah.
not wrong. It's the fact that you just lost your baby a month ago. So,
Yeah.
um,
Exactly. Yeah. And give yourself time. And remember, there's no time limit on grief. I always like to remind people that, some people are like, oh, just like get over it and all this. And it's like, no, you know what? They're a part of an integral part of our life in so many ways. And it takes time to process that. And I believe it's always a part of us. And it
yeah,
takes time to heal from that. And just remember, always be gentle with yourself. Always be gentle. That's so
yeah.
important. Be gentle with yourself as you are processing that because a lot of people just don't get it, which is really unfortunate. But there's a lot of people that do as well that do get
Well, and a lot of people just don't, I mean, because grief is uncomfortable to so many people. So it's hard for them to understand. And even again, as humans, we're kind of expected to go back to normal after the funeral's over. So, and then when you put on top of that our animals, and especially people don't have animals, they don't understand that heart connection you have. So definitely be gentle with yourself on that. And Zelda here, hello, Gloria from New Brunswick, Canada. Oh, I just lost Zelda. Zelda, I'm missing my two black dash. Is it dachshunds? Is that how you say that? I always
I always mix that up too. I'm like, I always
yeah.
want to say dash hounds, but I think it's dogs.
I
I don't know. I always
I
say
don't either. Coco and Chanel, they both crossed over. Do they have a message for mom and myself? And will they ever come back to me? Um, I'll show you that part. But it is Coco and Chanel in form of a different dog or animal.
okay. And she says doxies. Oh my goodness, I'm sending you. So, so she says sausage dogs. They do kind of look like a little sausage. The doxies. What's really interesting is they're showing me like they were like so like close knit. It's like they were separate dogs, but they're showing me like we were almost one, right? Like we were almost one, and we were divided off like that for like one for you and one for mom is what they said, like one for you and one for mom. And they're showing me that like that they just surround you with their love, and they're showing me to like look for lights and look for like twinkles and lights. Look for twinkles and lights. I speak to you and I come to you through twinkles of lights. And then they're showing me that they're definitely open to coming back, but it's interesting. I don't see them as dogs, like a bonded pair of cats or like cat siblings. They say they're going to come back as like these really beautiful cats. We're going to come back as these really beautiful cats, is what they say.
I love that. Thank you for that, Shawna. And
It's so much
Linda,
fun.
Linda, I already don't remember which pet we were talking about with you. Darn it, I wish I did.
Oh, that was her pet that passed away.
Yeah, and she was
Linda.
wanting to know if it was coming back. So he was my soul dog. Mika was my soul dog too. So I absolutely understand, Linda. He was just short of his 7th birthday. Oh, sweet baby. Yes, he would like to know if she'd return as another fur baby. I think he tries to send me signs. Maybe I'm grieving too much. And that you have the ashes. So, you know, before Shawna tells you the information from the other side, I would say just even set the intention and like maybe even look at the ashes and say, you know, I would love signs from you and call those signs in because I am quite sure that your dog, that you are receiving those signs, but being open to receiving them. And the grief hinders that ability, but it doesn't stop it. So it is possible even while you're deeply grieving. It's just something that may slow it down a little bit. Shauna, go.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say with that is he says, don't let the doubts and the what ifs like get in the way of your grief. Know that you were my everything and you did everything. And just say, like say a mantra to yourself, like I'm open to the signs, like I see the signs easily, the signs are coming to me. And you could touch his ashes and connect that way and say, hey, you know what, like I'm right. I know those messages are right here, and just close your eyes and even put your hand on your heart and just have that, be open to that connection, and just know and just give yourself time to heal from that, because it's definitely not one of the easiest things. And he's just like, look high and low and in the middle, like you just might see like a flash of like what you think is me that flashes by, because he's like, I check on you and I'm right there and you can feel my presence. And he's having me touch my left knee, like my left leg. So he says it's still right there, right? He says it's still right there. And that soulmate animal connection, right, is really, really strong. And I wanted to show you guys, just in case you guys didn't know, I have my first book that I wrote that's called Soulmate Dog. That's about my yellow lab, and it talks about our connection and stories of our life together and all of that. And you can get it on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and on my website. If you're interested, you might want to check that out to see, if you're a reader, maybe that might, give you some healing that way as well.
Yeah, and I was going to add to write down the signs, because I think a lot of times we see something and we write it off like, nope, that didn't happen, or that happens all the time, so it's not a sign. But write them down so you can kind of keep track of the signs that you are seeing and believe them. Like you'll feel it in your gut if it's a true sign or not. Like I know that people talk about cardinals, the red cardinal bird, as being a sign from loved ones. Well, at my mom's house, there were lots of cardinals there. So it's like, is that a sign? But then there would be specific ones that kind of interacted with me. And I'm like, that's a sign. The 20 other ones that are in the yard, they're my favorite bird prior to my mom passing. But like not all of them necessarily were signs, or she was sending me a bunch of them. I don't know. But it's easy to get a sign, a feather or whatever, and then immediately disregard it that it's not a sign. So I encourage you to write them down too. And Zelda says, as far as Coco and Chanel, that you said they're coming back as cats. She's not a cat person. I promise you, Zelda, I'm not a big cat person either, but I guarantee if if Coco and Chanel come back as cats, you will connect to those cats' hearts and souls, and you will love those cats. You may not be a cat person overall, but if you're wanting that connection back with those two, maybe there's a reason that they're choosing to come back to cats, to show you that cats are okay. I don't know. But I do know that you would love those two if your sweet puppies came back as cats.
Yeah, exactly. Because you never know. Like, it's always good to be open to those possibilities because that's what they're showing me. They're like, and it could be too. So there's two things that I want to mention. So they're showing me cats, right? And I still get something with cats, but it could be they're cat-like. Does that make sense? So sometimes the way messages come through. So I had a cat once tell me, like, I'm the protector of the stuffed ones, and it was like stuffed animals on this person's daughter's bed. So it's like sometimes the way they communicate things, it can be very like a broad range sometimes. So it can be different than how we interpret it to be. So just
Well,
be open.
and Miko is a very cat-like dog. I
Right?
have to say, had more cat-type qualities, I would say, than an actual dog. And we're
Yeah.
going to take this one last question from Zelda, and then I have a couple of comments here. But
Yeah.
Zelda, Mom and I adopted two rescues. Ruby is Mom's, and Bella is mine. Ruby does not get along with Bella. Bella is a bit bigger, and I think Bella irritates Ruby. Will they ever become best friends? Or how about will they ever become friendly?
Right, exactly. Will they ever become friendly? Okay, so before I get to that, I'm going to answer that here. Is I think I love, Carol, your suggestion of like writing down signs. I feel like that's so important, and I'm going to start doing that myself too because I think that's so important. So the thing with the rescues, Ruby and Bella, is I want to talk to you about something I like to call projection, right? So those things that we project on our animals, like if we're like really like, like with a loudspeaker, like, hey, they don't, it's like, hey, they don't get along. Ruby and Bella, they don't get along. Like it's impossible for them to get along. Like, oh my gosh, this is like such a headache. When are they ever going to get along? Like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So what happens is then we're amplifying that, right? Because then we're making it like, oh my gosh, like they're not getting along, like Bella's irritating Ruby, and then blah blah blah. So what's really good to do is like flip it. So like flip that perspective on that and say like, okay, we're just going to be in a neutral space, like Ruby's Ruby and Bella's Bella, and they're both like individual, like beautiful souls, and we're gonna just say we love them for who they are, and just keep seeing them getting along and doing some things to kind of like engage them together for them to cohabitate well, and for them to get along and just stay kind of like in that neutral space. And then another thing too, like they're showing me that like it doesn't matter if we're best friends, or like who cares if we're best friends or not. Like if we're okay just being here together, they're like, it doesn't matter that we're not like best friends, is what they're showing me. They're like, hey, like it's okay if we just like cohabitate together, that we don't have to be best friends. So I just feel like just kind of maybe do some other things to engage with them, and just be like, hey, you know what, they're not going to get along, and then leave it up to them to make the decision without trying to add too much. Because a lot of times those projections we add on our animals, it kind of can hamper situations. So me with my Luna, she never really got along with other dogs when she was on a leash. She's the sweetest lab, but then when another dog, she'd be like, I don't like that. And so I would always like focus like, oh God, here comes a dog. Luna doesn't like other dogs. And then when I finally switched it and was like, you know what, I'm not going to focus on that, it got better. It wasn't perfect, but it got better.
Yeah.
So what we focus on gets amplified. So that's
Yeah.
what I get for that for you.
Well, and that's like on my normal conversations here outside of the animal communications, like whatever we're focusing on, we are giving that the energy to grow. So if we're focusing on, and when you have Bella and Ruby, who may right now be fighting or having issues, that it's easy to give your attention to that because it's right in front of you. But so it's not about pretending it's not there, and obviously keep them safe if they're really not getting along. But it is about focusing on what you do want more than what you don't want, and let that energy grow from there. And again, Zelda, when you're in the middle of it, doesn't make it easy to not focus on what's not working. But with some daily steps and practices, you can start focusing more on what it is you want out of that relationship, rather than what they may be showing you that you don't want out of that relationship.
Exactly. So important. Great points, Carol. And then also too, I just get a thing of like, embracing who they both are, because they're both showing me like, hey, we're so unique. Don't try to lump us together. Like, embrace me for who I am, embrace me for who I am as well, is what I get from both of
Oh,
them.
I love that. And thank you, Zelda. That's very sweet.
Oh,
So, we'll be back. Well, actually, Shawna is here on every Sunday on her own page, Shawna Marie Fischer, at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Central time, which is what I'm in, and does these little readings. Again, you can hire her for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, I think, or
30 minutes, an hour, and then 90 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
To go into a deeper dive on whatever is going on in your animal's world, kind of thing. But what else is going on? Is there anything else that you need everyone to know about, to connect with you?
Well, let's see. Well, I'm working on making some updates and changes to my website, and kind of creating and adding some new things. So
Awesome.
yeah, so working on that. And yeah, I don't have anything up and coming except I have my Sunday night live, and then of course my book is working on some things still to go with my book. So that's yeah, so that's that.
So why don't you, after, go in and go to the pages and put your book link in there, or your website link, so people can easily find it too.
Yeah, I will put my link tree, because the amazing Carol helped me to get motivated to set up a link tree. And what's cool is it has like, you can go to my Facebook, my Instagram to, buy my book on my website, and, all these other things. And I actually just now realized I should add on where they can buy my book on Amazon too. I should add that on Barnes and Noble if people want to do that. So
that's a good idea. Oh, I do have one more question before we close out. So Kai, Denise's German Shepherd, can you tune in to Kai and see how Kai is doing?
Oh, Kai, I feel like Kai is like, I'm so smart. And Kai says, I'm so blessed to like be here and be with the people I am, like that I'm the guardian. Like I'm the guardian dog. And I feel like I see this dog like has such a connection with Denise and with her husband, and is like the opening up of her husband. Like, oh, like, okay, just like the opening up there, and that this dog like really works hand in hand with Denise too, that they have such a that dog just has a connection with them and their space, and it just is like, yep, I was meant to be here, and here I am. So thank you.
I can't imagine any animal being in the presence of Denise Lynn and not having a connection, but
right,
I wanted to see
exactly. I think she would be a cool person to live with if you were a dog. Like, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, so. Me too. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to let people know also, this is non-topical, but one of my favorite things to do is I do an annual, which I have not done for 2 years, an annual event called Global Free Hugs, where I invite people all over the world to join me in offering free hugs in their community to help spread love around the world. And I'm pretty sure we can all agree that a little bit more love around the world could be beneficial. So right now, I think I have people in 3 continents, 4 countries, and 10 states that are signed up. I'm going to include my linked tree as well, that you can get to the hug thing. But I would love it if people were to sign up, and or if you were willing to share this information with your friends and family to see. It will be interesting because it's going to be the first one. While COVID is still going, I mean, there's parts of the world that it's still not good. But we are going to try, and I am encouraging everybody to practice safety within whatever their community guidelines are. The second link I shared will share a little video of what it's about too. So I would love to see you join me September 9th through the 11th, so we can all love up this world a little bit more. Shawna, I want you to sign up and join me as well. So
right, it's going to be fun. I love that you're doing that. I think it's so important because we need that love, and that connection, and hugs are so powerful, that human touch and interaction.
I've had a couple different people join with their pets, and so like they had I think it's a golden retriever, had a free hugs bandana around its neck, and then another animal sanctuary took their I believe it was a St. Bernard, and it was to a college that was having finals that day. And so they were there giving hugs to the students who were there for their finals. That was a couple of years ago. pre-COVID for sure. But
Oh, how cool. I wonder if my little golden mixed nugget, I don't know where she is right now, but maybe she'll want to go with me to give hugs. I love
there you
that.
go. I will say the person who originated it does it himself. Many people go solo. I like to have somebody with me. So it's really what comfort zone you want. But that link will share a little bit more information, and I would love for you to join me. So that is what we have today. Tuesday, I will be back with Paul Savagno, and we'll be talking about the work of Byron Katie and working through stressful thoughts and how to release them. And then probably on Thursday, because I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30 Central Time, we'll be talking about moving with and forward through grief. So thank you so much, Shawna. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody in this community joining us here Tuesdays and Thursdays. And remember, you matter. You matter to me, you matter to the world, and most importantly, you matter to you. So we'll talk soon. So long for now.